Benjamin Sesko's agent has flown into Leipzig today to complete the move. For Sesko, Newcastle are making their bids. Manchester United are ready to match the bids, and Benjamin Sesko to make his choice potentially today. What is the latest on Benjamin Sesko? The bid Manchester United are preparing, and his agent flying in. Who is he set to choose? Because there's still a possibility he could stay at Leipzig. Hojlund wants to stay. That could be a problem for Manchester United. Garnacho picks Chelsea. He gives green light and priority to Chelsea. But the problem Manchester United have is Chelsea value Garnacho at 30 to 35 million pounds. And I don't care how much you guys dislike Garnacho or want him gone, we should be getting a minimum 50 million. If Alanga's 55 million, if Madueke is 55 million, if João Felix is going for 45 million pounds, how dare Chelsea think they can get Garnacho for 30 to 35 million pounds, because we will be desperate to sell him at the end of the window, and they're playing out it. Get Garnacho to reject everyone else. United get desperate at the end of the window. We get him on a cheap. We're going to talk about that. Garnacho obviously picks Chelsea, among other news stories. So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your 10-minute Manchester United news, transfer news, and update roundup show. We're rounding up all the news in 10 minutes for you guys, starting with Garnacho. Alejandro Garnacho has given total priority to Chelsea. Talks took place on player side. No negotiations with Manchester United, as price will be a key factor. Timing of the deal not expected to be imminent. Can take some time with Chelsea focus on outgoings and Xavi Simons. First of all, how many times can Fabrizio Romano basically tell us the same thing without telling us anything? I know. But second of all, Chelsea Chelsea, Betis, and Dortmund for Sancho, for Garnacho, for Anthony, all think Man United are desperate to sell. They're not bringing the players back. We dragged this down to deadline day. You're out pure desperation. Manchester United, let's get the deal we want on the cheap, on loan, and mug us off. Liverpool wanted to sell Diaz and wanted to sell Nunes. They didn't have that issue. But Manchester United, teams know we're not good at selling and we're desperate. So we've got to make an example of Garnacho, because we've already let Rashford go for way too cheap, in my opinion. 26 million option to buy. I'm just saying, we need to make sure that we don't get mugged off, because Garnacho staying isn't the end of the world, because we can stick him in the reserves. And I thought Sam Peoples summed this up well. How many times can you say the exact same thing about Garnacho? Like, how many times? Anyway, United could generally make an example out of Garnacho until January, and he's right. Garnacho wants to play football. It's the World Cup year. He just missed out last year. He was in the Copa America but didn't really play. This is the World Cup year. Garnacho is desperate to play football this year. We tell Garnacho's agent, we tell Chelsea we want 50 million plus. United want this, and when you look at Gittins has got one goal in the last 6 months and isn't able to start for Dortmund and can't get in the Dortmund team, and one goal in the last 6 months with no Premier League experience, and is the same age as Garnacho, and Chelsea spent 55 million on him. Alanga is 3 years older than Garnacho and cost 55 million. Madueke is worse player than Garnacho and still went for 52 million pounds and is 3 years older. If not, and Chelsea lowball us at 30 to 35 million, okay then, just say you'll play with the reserves, your wages aren't an issue, we can afford to do that. And he's right. We will tell Chelsea Garnacho's wages aren't an issue. If we don't get 50 million, we're keeping him and he can play with the reserves. And Chelsea might make a move for him in January. But again, you've got to give us what our valuation is. Because Garnacho, I don't care if you guys dislike Garnacho. I don't care if you want Garnacho gone so badly. In this market, if he didn't have attitude issues, we'd have got 60 million. If Garnacho was a Chelsea FC player and it was the other way around, we'd be probably paying 65 million to Chelsea. And you cannot disagree with me on that. We paid 60 million for Mason Mount 1 year after this deal. They got 45 million for João Felix, who was the flop of the season. They value Garnacho at less than João Felix. They value Nicholas Jackson at 80 million pounds. If it was the other way round, we'd be giving Chelsea 65 million for Garnacho. I'm not expecting 65 million. He's not worth that. But when you look at the market and how good Chelsea are at selling, it would be that. Because we're desperate to sell, because of his attitude issues, 50 million pounds, please. We can't. We can use Garnacho as an example, and he's right, and I completely agree. Because everyone thinks that United are so desperate and they're just going to upset to anything. Let's use Garnacho and Anthony as examples. Let's use Garnacho and Anthony this window as examples to Real Betis and to Chelsea that you cannot mug us off. We want the value of our player. Anthony was incredible on loan, willing to take a wage cut. Garnacho on low wages, also a good player. But anyway, now let's talk about Benjamin Sesko. I'm kind of bored of the Sesko news and the Sesko situation, hence why I wanted to rant about this Garnacho situation first, because it's just so repetitive. But let's have a serious conversation about it. So, what is the latest? Newcastle are prepared to improve their offer to Leipzig for Benjamin Sesko with optimism that the fee and structure can be agreed. Cool. Newcastle can agree a deal with Leipzig very easily. Can they agree a deal with Sesko? That's the big question. Both Newcastle and United are waiting on Sesko's decision, which is now expected quickly. There's a feeling Benjamin Sesko's decision could come today. Manchester United are also ready to match Newcastle's bid for Sesko, but I think they're waiting for the green light from Sesko first, whilst Newcastle are making the bids. Maybe Newcastle are making the bids because they think it will show Sesko that they want him more. I don't know, but it didn't work for Ekatike and it didn't work for João Pedro when Newcastle made those bids. Manchester United made it clear to Leipzig again on Saturday that they will send a bid if Sesko opens the door to joining them. So United aren't sending a bid yet because they want the green light from Sesko, whereas Newcastle are sending the bid regardless and are willing to agree a deal with Leipzig. Maybe that's Newcastle saying, if you join us, we'll get the deal done quickly, whereas United will probably drag it on for weeks, and Newcastle are probably not wrong about that. I also think that Sesko could stay at Leipzig. I wouldn't be shocked. He did it to Arsenal. He strung Arsenal along for weeks, not this summer, the summer before in 2024, to stay at Leipzig and sign a new deal. So Benjamin Sesko is open to both projects, but one source said he's leaning towards Manchester United, although that's not been confirmed. Now, Craig Hope, who's a good Newcastle-based journalist, who suggested a couple of days ago that Sesko was preferring Man United, is now sort of going back on that. So this could be one to watch. Is there a little bit of renewed hope in the last 24 to 48 hours that Sesko could choose Newcastle? Yes, there's absolutely evidence by the offer that went in overnight. I don't think Newcastle would have bidded for Sesko without any kind of indication that the player's open to the move. 2 days ago it was he wants Manchester United, he really prefers Manchester United too. Actually, he hasn't chosen yet. It seems he prefers United, but he hasn't chosen yet and is seriously considering Newcastle. And I think Newcastle wouldn't have made a bid if he had said no. I think he's seriously considering Newcastle. I think he might prefer Man United as being reported, but it's not he prefers Man United, go away Newcastle like Mbumo did. It is he prefers United, but actually he is listening to Newcastle. They are doing a good job at convincing him. He could change his mind. Newcastle make a bid, show how their hand is, how they want him. It could change his mind. Fabrizio Romano said that we are now entering into decision time for Sesko. His agent is in Leipzig, and his agent has just flown into Leipzig to speak directly to the player and also help negotiations with Leipzig. Today could be the day. Sesko's agent has flown in to sort the deal with Leipzig and Sesko today. Today could be the day that Benjamin Sesko has made his decision. Now, United apparently have the money to go and bid up for Benjamin Sesko and match Newcastle's, 70 million bid in total, including the add-ons, which includes a sell-on clause, which I think is a big overpayment for Sesko. I like Benjamin Sesko, good player, good striker, but I do think we're overpaying, and I think Leipzig got what they want. Newcastle was so desperate. They've missed out on Ekatike, they've missed out on João Pedro, they've missed out on Delap and Mbumo, Cunha, Isak's forcing away. Newcastle's so desperate that they're getting the price up, so it's annoying that I think we're going to have to overpay for Benjamin Sesko. But we know that Leipzig and Romano said this dream of Rasmus Hojlund, would love Rasmus Hojlund to go the other way if they were to sell Benjamin Sesko. However, it doesn't look like Hojlund wants to leave, which is kind of frustrating considering it's kind of obvious they want Hojlund to leave. Manchester United open to offers of 30 million for Hojlund, but he's determined to stay and fight for his place even with a new striker signing. Hojlund, you're looking good in pre-season. You've got better players around you in the attack this season, so you're going to get more service. And your first season at United was promising. I like Hojlund. I honestly think Hojlund will be a good level striker. I'm just concerned. I think if Hojlund has a really good pre-season, plays the first few games of the season and scores in it, Hojlund could have a good season. I think he's massively a confidence player. But the minute he goes a few games without goals, pressure's on, he can just fall off a cliff like he did the back end of last season. It was atrocious. To be honest, if you're hearing £80 million for Benjamin Sesko, I'm not totally against keeping Hojlund and going with a midfielder. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think we need a striker, yeah. But all I'm saying is, I'm not against. If Benjamin Sesko's price is going up and up and up, I would rather spend 70, 80 million on a Baleba. I really would. I don't know if Brighton would sell him this summer, but I really would. But look, there's a chance Hojlund will leave if he feels he's not wanted. If you're signing Benjamin Sesko, that could be a sign. We'll have to wait and see.